Hello, everyone. Welcome to Castlewood City. So let's go to the United States, particularly Washington, D.C., 16 Pennsylvania streets, where AfriForum and Solidarity met with the Trump administration seniors. Now, if you've been following the news sometime last week, 2 weeks, the South African government, some representatives sent by Cyril Ramaphosa to the White House to basically paint the picture of what is happening in South Africa to Donald Trump and his administration. And from what I understood and understand, is that they are being blue ticked. So Ronald Lamula, whom I think is the head of this particular what do you call them again? I don't want to say convoy. Is it a convoy? Or let's say convoy for lack of a better word. They are being blue ticked. And they feel like they are being humiliated by the Trump administration. Now, tell me why the Donald Trump administration is recognizing non-elected members or government heads of state like AfriForum and Solidarity and actually entertaining them instead of Ramaphosa's convoy. Tell me why. Let's read the article that I just came across right now on Times Live, dated the 26th of February 2025. It is editor's choice. It was published 5 minutes ago of the time when I was filming this video. And the author or the reporter is Lizek Tandwa. And the headline is AfriForum and Solidarity call for sustained pressure on arrogant Ramaphosa government during U.S. trip. So they are still on the trip that Donald Trump must, sanction ANC senior leaders. I don't know how that works, because if you do that, you are also sanctioning the Republic of South Africa itself, because they are in government, or at least part of the government. AfriForum CEO Kali Kriel was part of a delegation sent to the US after President Donald Trump's recent executive orders against South Africa. Of course, they're also going there to beg Donald Trump not to revoke AGOA, because they, AfriForum and the rest of them, benefit greatly from AGOA. But them black people, those are the people that you should be sanctioning and bringing them down to submission. So apartheid comes back again. Because if you look at this is a recognition of a change of regime here. We don't recognize the legitimate government, but we are going to recognize a parallel government that has been created by AfriForum and Solidarity. That is the picture that I am seeing. And if you are blind to it, you better wake up. In my previous video, I said, I see South Africa or some South Africans celebrating that, Ramaphosa told Donald Trump where to get off. And I said, I don't think you understand how the Americans work. You don't. Now let's read how you don't understand the American mentality together with AfriForum. Yeah, time to get a wake-up call. Afrikaners, okay, wait, let's read this again. Afrikaner rights group AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement have told Washington they are considering President Donald Trump's offer for white Afrikaners to resettle in the U.S., claiming the government led by Cyril Ramaphosa has arrogantly refused to negotiate. The groups said they sent a delegation to Washington after Trump's executive orders against South Africa in the interest of Afrikaners, specifically, and regular South Africans. Which regular South Africans were those, I wonder? During this week's trip to Washington, the two organizations falsely stated the brutality and frequency of farm excuse me, of farm unalivers compared to other unalivers in the country was very high. Bullshit. This contradicts the recent crime stats released by Police Minister Senzom Tunu. According to 2024-2025 third quarter crime stats, out of 6,953 reported unalivers, 12 farm unalivers were recorded. And that makes more than IBO, unless I don't understand maths. This includes a farmer, 5 farm dwellers, 4 employees, a security guard, and 1 individual who was not specified. 5 farmers, dwellers, 4 employees, a security guard. But no, the most important one is the white person. Wow. Despite the numbers, the organization's memorandum presented to Trump's administration stated farm unalivers have hit the Afrikaner community hard. The community is particularly exposed to a government that expropriates without compensation, while also being exposed to land grabs and land occupation, as well as calls for violence against them that are made publicly without any repercussions. For those spreading hate against Afrikaners, racial legislation also actively discriminates against this community. Racial discrimination is not limited to this group, as it includes white South Africans in general and other minorities, they said. However, the Expropriation Act indicates an expropriating authority may not expropriate property arbitrarily or for a purpose other than a public purpose or in the public interest. It states expropriation may not be exercised unless the expropriating authority has without success attempted to reach an agreement with the owner or holder of a right in property for the acquisition thereof on reasonable terms. An expropriating authority is therefore obliged to enter into negotiations with the owner of a property required for such purposes. An expropriating authority must also attempt to reach an agreement on the acquisition of the property before resorting to expropriation. Except in circumstances where the right to use property temporarily is taken on urgent basis in terms of a provision in the legislation. The law provides for disputes to be referred for mediation or to an appropriate court, the Act states. In a 2020 legal battle between the South African Human Rights Commission and others versus City of Cape Town and others, the court confirmed municipalities have a legal remedy to respond to land grabbing in their jurisdictions. The judgment warned municipalities to uphold the rule of law when they repossess property from unlawful occupiers. A report by the Dala Amar or Omar Institute stated land grabbers are mostly poor people in desperate need of housing. The report said challenges of unemployment, food insecurity, homelessness, and slow progress in the provision of housing and land has arguably contributed to the land grab crisis confronting local government. The possibility of resettlement through a U.S. refugee admissions program and possible humanitarian aid are being considered, and we have appreciation for the Trump administration's inclusion of these matters in the executive order. Though individuals may qualify for a resettlement program and make use of this generous offer, most Afrikaners will remain in South Africa. The minority right groups said, make up your minds. The organizations told the Trump administration that despite government's laws, they can live safely and freely in South Africa, adding attempts were being made to establish a place to resettle the Afrikaner group through solidarity. They recommended to Trump administration that aid be provided to Afrikaner Development Fund to assist with community infrastructure protecting Afrikaners. In other words, they want to expand Orania. That's what they're asking for. Please give us money so that we can make Orania an entire country like Israel. The groups called for the U.S. to mount pressure on government to declare farmer unalivers to priority crime and to action against those calling for violence against Afrikaners. They have called for government to revise the Bella Act. Imagine an entire United States of America. Expropriation Act and legislation they said discriminates on the basis of race. The delegation to the U.S. included AfriForum CEO Kali Creel, Solidarity's chairperson Flip Bass, Dr. Dirk Herman, and Jaco Kleinhazen. The memorandum titled Diplomatic Mission to the USA praises Trump for having rightly spoken out strongly against South Africa's domestic and foreign policies that seriously harm minorities in South Africa, claiming the policies only pose a threat to US national security interests. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. That was funny. The organizations claimed the ANC placed the blame for Trump's executive order at their door and denied their role in the weakening of diplomatic relations. They said charges of treason were laid against them, supported by the ANC. Rightfully so, if you ask me, because this is a coup d'etat. It's a silent coup d'etat that is going to be supported by the Trump administration because they are in Washington for regime change. And guess who's been recognized? Not Ramaphosa's administration and the representatives that were sent to Washington, D.C. that are being blue-ticked by the Trump administration, but the parallel government that is going to be Orania are the people that are being recognized, and they're gone there for fundraising so that they can cut off a large portion of South Africa into an entire country, just like Israel, Palestine. Mark my words. The relationship between SA and the US benefits SA disproportionately. SA has extremely favorable terms of trade with the US, runs a large annual trade surplus with the US, and receives billions in humanitarian and other aid. So in other words, what they're saying here, they're like, listen, Donald Trump, AGOA, leave it alone. We benefit billions of dollars out of it. Just leave it alone. Because it will directly hit us in the pocket as Afrikaners. But at the same time, we still need that fund so that we can determine our self-determination type of situation. Solidarity said it shares the Trump administration's concerns about government foreign policies, especially with regard to Israel, China, Iran, Russia, Rwanda, and Taiwan. Talk about sucking up. It recommended the pressure on SA be sustained, but said the focus must be on pressurizing the ANC, not South Africa, because if you do South Africa, we are also affected. So just make sure that it's just the ANC, guys. And said the capacity of civil society and private sector standing for free market investor-friendly economy should be strengthened. Goodbye, Labor Relation Act. In other words, that's what they are saying. BEE, which I still say BEE needs to go away because it doesn't benefit South Africans. When it also comes to affirmative action, it actually what's between your legs or behind you that they go after in order for you to get that job. And I said it. I said it. They called for the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, to be extended. I told you. This whole trip is about AGOA because if Donald Trump takes AGOA, that's the end of the Afrikaner farmer in South Africa. I told you. And said, as an alternative to the exclusion of SA punitive measures be directed at senior ANC leaders. I told you this is about AGOA. Corrupt individuals and those siding with international terrorist organization. Donald Trump, take away AGOA. If SA is no longer included in AGOA, alternative agreements and methods have been found that could soften the blow on individual farmers. I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you what this is about. Manufacturing businesses and ordinary citizens. Ordinary citizens, they are talking about the white business owners. Yeah, the ones that the DAOs protects, who would suffer the most because of the negative consequences of the irresponsible action and policies of the government, while the politicians responsible will be affected the least. There you have it, South Africa. This entire thing, they don't want to go and accept the offer by Donald Trump because they benefit billions of rands and probably dollars from AGOA. And they went there to say, hey, listen, one thing we forgot to mention in our propaganda is that leave AGOA alone because this is where we benefit. As the Afrikaners and the white people who are non-Afrikaners who own businesses in South Africa and benefit from AGOA, of course, the restaurant industry or the hospitality industry, that also includes the winery industry, that includes so many things that black people don't own. They are gone to Washington, D.C. to speak on protecting that. That is so-called ordinary citizens. They're talking about the white-owned business and white interests. Protect that. Whether that is Afrikaner or English, as long as they're white and they're business owners in South Africa, yeah, protect that. That is why they are in Washington, D.C. And guess who's going to listen and agree with them? Donald Trump. And then you think that Cyril Ramaphosa told Donald Trump off? You're not thinking with your two IQs. Maybe you got too many IQs that are just redundant. Have two IQs, rub them together and see things for what they are. You know, critical thinking, guys. Critical thinking. Anyways, that is the updates about how the Trump administration is ignoring Cyril Ramaphosa's people, but paying attention and entertaining AfriForum, our parallel government. It ends there. Goodbye.